very special Talking Reds from Tokyo. In fact, we're right outside the Tokyo Plaza in Shibuya. Did I pronounce that right? It's very busy, very exciting, loads going on, and we are delighted to be here. I'm really looking forward to watching the Reds play tomorrow night. I'm with Josh Sexton and with Craig Hannan. I am John Gibbons. I don't think I mentioned that. And yeah, Josh, the excitement's building in Tokyo for the game tomorrow. We did a couple of events last night with Kodansha, and you could just feel from speaking to people just how pleased they are to have Liverpool in town, and I'm really looking forward to the game. It's a bit of a check out to the stadium from where we are, but yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a really cool night.
Yeah, it's one of the funny things about Tokyo, isn't it, is that Yokohama is not, or at least originally wasn't necessarily in Tokyo, but the sprawl of Tokyo is so big that it's ended up becoming a district of Tokyo. Ash is losing his hat alongside me here, which is always good fun. The wind has really picked up since we set the camera up, so that's something exciting. Hopefully you can still hear me over the wind, but yeah, it seems like such an honour for Liverpool to be here, and that's the thing that's really come through. Everybody you've spoke to, whenever we say that we've come over and with the Anfield Wrap from Liverpool, people are very excited about that and have questions. One of the lads who was in the immersive experience, like working for Kodansha yesterday, was just like asking me what it was like to be in Anfield and stuff like that. And we're literally watching as people were taking penalties and the experience and stuff, which you'll see more of on the Anfield Wrap eventually. I'm sure people, you can see like the sort of shots of the crowd, and you're just watching like wide-eyed and like so excited to like experience that. So yeah, such an exciting experience for us to be here and see other people getting to share in that.
Yeah, we've got a couple of events tonight, Craig, that I'm really looking forward to. The first one is Andy Hodgson's come out and brought his guitar in, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how they interact with him and singing the songs and stuff like that. I'm sure they know all the words because they'll have studied it online and stuff like that, so I'm really looking forward to that. We're on before with an interpreter, which I think is going to be interesting. Apparently it's a Scouser who knows Japanese well than the other way around, so I don't know how that affects it, but that's going to be sort of really good fun. And then we're going on after that, hopefully, to their supporters club and to have a little look at that. And I feel like tonight we're going to get a real taste. We've had a taste of Japan so far and Japanese culture, but I feel like tonight we're going to get a real great taste of what it's like to support Liverpool here in Japan.
Yeah, and Yumiko from the LOSC Japan has always been a massive supporter of the Anfield Wrap and everyone else there. So
I've lost count how many countries you've seen her in now. She always just pops up, doesn't she?
I know.
Singapore, there's Yumiko.
I know, and so getting to go to Epilogue where they watch the games, that'll be really exciting. I always say it's my favourite thing on these trips is to experience their fan culture, and we got a lot of that at the Kodansha event yesterday. That was an incredible exhibition. So yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to bounce around to some Liverpool songs myself, Sean, because it's been a while.
Yeah.
And, we did a lot of it in April and May, didn't we? And then we've had a nice break. Now I'm ready, and I'm back, and I'm just excited to watch the Reds play. We've got a new signing that's going to start or play some sort of part tomorrow. We're seeing him in training and seeing the little clips, and that's like just the excitement get heightened as we move closer to the season. And I'm ready for Liverpool to win the big one again. I want it to start, and I want to celebrate being champions while also work towards becoming champions again.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Hugo Ekitike. Craig references in there, and I think he's in danger of becoming the forgotten man a little bit because of all the Isaac talk. And listen, Isaac was, the conversation's been going on longer, and then Ekitike came in a little bit out of nowhere, although there had been links, and then suddenly it was wrapped up, and then we're back talking about Isaac again. But he's signed for the big fee. He looks a phenomenal player, and those little training clips that Craig was talking about there that the club have put out, where he looks like he's got every type of finish. He's got little poke finishes, he's got smashes, he was scoring with his head, and yeah, it was just training, but it was great to see, and I think he might very much become the remembered man tomorrow night. I think he'll want to put on a bit of a show on, what's not quite his full debut, but it's certainly his first chance to impress in a red shirt.
Yeah, and I have to be honest about my own personal journey with Ekitike, and I'm sure people sort of shared in the same thing, in that at one point it felt like it was him or Isak, and I was definitely in the Isak boat. Ekitike felt to me like the unproven one. He felt to me like he was the younger one. He was coming from a different league. Isak felt like the sure thing. He was the marquee signing, and there's some excitement that comes along with that, but he's a lad who's, you know, scored 20 goals a season in the Premier League for the past 3 seasons now. I think, you know, there were obviously concerns about Isak around the injury record and stuff. They're not things that I necessarily held, because over the past 2 seasons he's been fine. Ekitike seems to come with a pretty decent injury record, really, which is one of the things that was working in his favour. But I've almost done a 180 on that now, really, like, not to the point where I don't want Isak. Obviously it seems like now Liverpool could go and get both, which is, you know, incredibly exciting. It doesn't seem like it's one or the other now, which has definitely helped my own sort of personal journey. But, you know, seeing the clips of him in training, watching more of that sort of Frankfurt footage, and sort of, you know, almost drilling deeper down into the kind of footballer he is, because for me, I was worried that, you know, he was coming in to be Liverpool's bona fide number 9, and that, I guess that was the thing that scared me, really, versus an Isak where, you know you're going to get all the goals from Isak, but, you know, now learning that Ekitike Liverpool see as a more versatile forward is something that excites me. Like, I'd be excited to see how he can come off the left and affect games in the same way that maybe a Gakpo can, because of the, you know, the physical stature of him and the fact that he can be an out ball. It seems like he's got pace to running behind. It seems like he can, you know, make assists from what we've seen at Frankfurt too. You mentioned the smash finishes that we've seen one of in the training footage today. They're the sorts of things where, like, you know, you've seen Gakpo do them before, you've seen Diaz do them before, you've seen even Nunes coming off the left and do them before. So that's something that, you know, we know as a part of Liverpool's system, we know works within Liverpool's system. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see this level of versatility. I'm excited to see all the skills that are in Hugo Ekitike's armoury, and the things that, you know, as you say, I'd almost forgotten, because I was going through my own sort of transfer journey where I'm putting him against Isak, and I mean, now it might be both.
I wonder whether and I don't think Ekitike will be looking at like this. He'll be saying, well, I scored loads of goals for Frankfurt last year and I'm ready to score more in the Premier League. But I wonder whether Liverpool have looked at these two and thought, well, you know, Ekitike's young, and we can bring Isak in, and Isak can be a player that we know will get 20 plus goals in the Premier League, and that'll allow Ekitike time to bed in and get used to the league and new club, new country, new surroundings, and it just takes a little bit of the pressure off him, having a sort of a big star. Obviously, look, we haven't signed Isak yet, and I think there's a long way to go. It feels like it's progressing towards the thing that we all want, but you know, with transfers you can never be quite sure. But I just wondered whether that might be what the Reds thinking in terms of having these 2 number 9s. Joyce's article said that he could play on the left as well, and I thought that was quite interesting. Also him a little bit deeper in the 10, so, you know, he's able to play in these different positions, and that'll really help him. But yeah, he's a footballer that I didn't watch a lot of. I'd never watched him before. I haven't watched a lot of YouTube of him. Maybe for similar reasons to you, that it's been Isak in my head, but I'm quite excited by that. Like, I have no idea what I'm going to watch tomorrow night. Usually you've seen the goals and stuff like that, and I've seen the clips that we mentioned, but that's it. So going in with a completely sort of clean slate with him, and that's exciting in itself.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. You know, are we going to see some of that versatility that Craig did mention about, or is he going to play up top? I think he'll play as a number 9 very much in this game, and I think I'm looking forward to seeing how that changes other people around him, because that game against AC Milan, Josh, I thought we were missing an out-and-out number 9, really. A couple of different lads had to go there and played it, you know, in a different way. But I think, for me, Florian Wirtz looks like he's someone who, you know, appreciates, you know, having someone there. And I think for a couple of the others as well, you look like Rio Ingamoa, you know, some of his movements on the left-hand side, his skills and crossing was excellent, but does that become even more so if he's got a target man to hit in the middle? Do you start seeing, you know, assists from him to add to his sort of great play? And so I'm looking forward to seeing him in that number 9 position, not just for what he brings, but also what he brings out of others.
Yeah, I think Liverpool are at the best when they've got, you know, big squads and can go horses for courses almost, and we've probably not seen loads of that in the number 9 position down the years. I mean, Bobby Firmino was the sort of ultimate, you know, versatile player, wasn't he, really? But then since we've signed Nunes and moved away from Bobby Firmino, it's maybe not felt quite like that. Jota was obviously the thing that sort of bridges in between, where he was a bit like Firmino, but he had the sort of finishing ability of a proper number 9, whereas Firmino was maybe not always in those positions like Jota was to sort of be a poacher. So I'm excited to see sort of where Ekitike falls in that. I'm excited if Isak comes in to see where he falls in that. I don't know if I agree as such that we were missing that against AC Milan, because I think there is like that horses for course argument means that there might be times where, you know, you can see a Florian Wirtz playing through the middle, or it's the double 10 with him and Szoboszlai as we saw against City last season. I think there is a world in which Liverpool can be, so tactically flexible that all of these players can play different roles, where maybe, the number 9 that we play in a certain game, as we saw with Diaz last season, is one that can just allow Salah and a Gakpo, for example, or if it's Ekitike playing off the left to push on that little bit more, and just creates different problems for different teams and gives Liverpool all these ways in which they can mix it up in games and sort of change the method of attack, I guess. So that to me is the most exciting thing, is Liverpool building all these different skills in their armoury. If I think about my favourite forward departments at Liverpool, it's players who could do different things. Like even think back to being Shaqiri being a part of that. And Shaqiri was someone we could bring off the bench just for little sort of moments of madness and pockets of Swiss power cubeness. So I'm always into those sorts of players who can bring different levels of madness, and that's probably where I've arrived at with Ekitike, really. I hope there's obviously some consistency to come from him. He's still young, and I think there'll be a lot of room for him to develop, and I don't think we should sort of jump on that too quickly, because we're going to allow young lads at that time to develop who come through the academy. But there'll be I'm sure some moments of madness, because he looks like that player who's got a bit of that in him, but hopefully loads of consistency and loads of goals as well.
I did think all of Wirtz's best work the other night was with players ahead of him, and that's obviously something that we've seen time and time again in the compilations, and when he's playing for Leverkusen, all of the pundits said that was where he does his best work. So I think he'll really relish having someone ahead of him this time, rather than him being the sort of the fulcrum at the top, because I think he'll love a goal scorer, and I think that's why Liverpool might be going, we'll tell you what, we'll give you 2.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that, but it's going to be fascinating to see how Hugo Ekitike plays tomorrow, and a few of the others, whether they're involved, because a few weren't. Diaz and Nunes were the high-profile ones. Diaz has now since left, but with Nunes, they said it was a minor injury. He's trained today. Apparently, he was staying behind after and doing some shooting drills and stuff like that. So whether he's involved, maybe he's the switch with Ekitike in this game. We know Chiesa's not come at all, so maybe he's on his way out. But a couple of others in those attacking positions, I'd quite like to see what is there a plan for them, really, because Nunes in particular was one who we expected to go and sort of still might go, but without it being definite, the manager might start to think, well, is there a way that I can use him in the short term? Just for the fact that we are going to need forwards, we are going to need options.
Yeah, maybe, but I know it was an injury the other night, but it's felt with Nunes that he's inevitably going to leave, hasn't it? And he's been scoring goals when he's played in pre-season so far, and so it's not as if he's not down tools. He's what you're going to get from Nunes if he plays and he starts. But I don't know. I'm more interested to see what he does with the others. I think if he plays someone like Ngamoa again on the left at maybe the same time as Salah's on the right, I think that means they're having a big look at him, because they've done that in these games, and I think they're wondering whether he could be the sixth choice. I think, because even I'm thinking back to the second half and what they did in the second half, and Ben Doak was playing in that sort of Wirtz position, but there wasn't really anything happening, was there?
No.
And he struggled again, and he struggled at the Preston game as well, I thought. So there's players like that there that you just think are gonna, maybe even Harvey Elliott he'll have a look at as well, on the right hand side, but. Yeah, I think they'll be wanting to give Ekitike as many minutes as they feel he can do tomorrow night, because they'll want to start playing with a number 9 and a front man.
On Harvey Elliott there, when you were talking about the manager having a box of tricks, if you like, he's one that jumped to mind for me, and he's there's a little bit of the Shaqiri's about him in that when he comes onto the pitch, something's gonna happen. We talked about that in the free show in yesterday about Endo's compliment being to him, listen, every time you come on you're trying to make something happen, and that's incredible. Does that become the way back in for Harvey Elliott? Because if numbers are a little bit lighter than they were last season, the quality might have gone up, which obviously as soon as we signed Florian Wirtz, I was like, well, that's it for him, because he couldn't get minutes last season, and now this guy's come in, he plays a very similar position, who's fantastic, and it's unlikely, even more unlikely that he's going to get minutes. But then, as the numbers reduce, and it looks like we might end up going in with a slightly smaller squad and a few more players who may be a little bit more versatile and able to play in different positions, does that give Harvey maybe a route back in?
I can see a way in which it does, to be honest. Like, again, it comes back to that sort of styles making fights almost kind of argument where, I can imagine a world where Harvey Elliott is playing on the right wing, where maybe Salah's away at AFCON and Elliott is the one who's dropping deep and Frimpong's playing right back and he's the one who's sort of bombing on, because this way you sort of, we don't really forget it because we never take Salah for granted really, but he's just the ultimate forward, isn't he? Like, he's the one who can drop deep, but he can also get in behind and push defences back, and he's got goals from range, he's got goals from close in, and that's where maybe Elliott does leave you wanting a little bit, because Elliott doesn't have that power to drive him behind. He doesn't necessarily have the goals where it's him sort of jinking into the box and managing to beat a couple of defenders, but what Elliott definitely does have is dropping deep, and he's got the shooting range and all those kinds of things. So you could see a world, at least I definitely can, and I can make a strong argument in my head that if you've got a Frimpong who's got that natural pace to get beyond Elliott, then you don't necessarily need Elliott to be as quick as a Mo Salah is, and then maybe if you've got a Szoboszlai behind him, there can be some interchange, and then that also starts to make sense in my head as a picture. So I think a lot of it is going to depend on the will of the player with Harvey Elliott. If he sits down with Arne Slot and he says, listen Arne, like I want to play at the World Cup, I've got these ambitions of playing for my country, and I want to be sort of recognised for my stature, I guess similar in a way to the reason we've lost Luis Diaz really is that it seems clear that Luis Diaz wants not only the pay but also just that sort of status in the team that reflects him being one of the world superstars, because I think Luis Diaz is up there in world football. So if Liverpool can try and find the sort of route that gets Harvey Elliott at least a little bit closer to that, if not definitely that, because listen, I still think Mo Salah is a freak of nature, isn't he? And he's going to play so many games, and he's not going to want to be coming off in games either necessarily, which gives Elliott little bits of minutes here and there. So I'll be really interested to see the way those conversations go, really interested to see the way they use Elliott in this friendly as well, because he was used more as a 10 sort of alongside Wirtz in that game, and I thought he supported Wirtz well in that sense, but maybe there is just a different world where he becomes a different footballer for Liverpool almost.
I think the domino that needs to fall is whether they get Isak or not, and I think a lot of the futures and a lot of the players that we're talking about in terms of what minutes they're going to get and where they're going to play all depends on whether they do Isak, because I think if they don't do Isak, then you feel as if it is a Rodrigo or someone like that, and that's on the left, and then they're suddenly looking at going, well, who is it that's going to support Ekitike in that number 9 role? And then you can talk yourself into, well, maybe it's Nunez for 6 months, or maybe we get through a season with Nunez because we've signed Rodrigo, he's a belter, we've signed Wirtz behind, he's a belter, and we've got Ingamoa as well, he's young but maybe not quite ready, but maybe he could do bits on the right behind Salah, and then that's one where you maybe think that, right, they go, we can let Harvey Elliott go now. I think that it all depends on this signing, and I think once they make that signing, if they do, then you'll start to see these outs, and then you'll start to see a shape and a front 5 and a 6, and see who's going to play in the supporting roles, who's going to be ones that the Liverpool are going to have to depend on as a 9, as a goal scorer, whether it's Ekitike from the beginning or whether it's Isak. One thing that helps in all of this is, you can depend on Mo Salah to score 20 plus goals in the season. I think that really sort of helps alleviate any issues right at the beginning. Very interested to see what Liverpool's attack looks like in 3 or 4 months.
Well, look, I'm really interested to see what our defence looks like as well, Josh, because the attacking players are the ones we're talking about at the moment, because that's where the biggest change is and that's where the biggest links are. But defensively, when you looked at it the other night, it obviously needs work as well. We conceded 4 goals to AC Milan, albeit in a pre-season friendly, and a few of those were transition ones, which aren't necessarily down to just the defensive line. But at the same time, there was a lot of players being asked to do a job. Back there, Joe Gomez isn't on this trip anymore. He's sort of gone back home, and so you fancy Virgil and Konate will have to split again, which isn't necessarily ideal, although it's not like their partnership needs work. But alongside both of them will be defending, midfielders really, who are being asked to do a job there and things like that. And I think tomorrow, I don't know what kind of test the opposition are going to give us tomorrow. I doubt they've got a player as good as Rafael Leao, but at the same time, they'll be used to playing together as a team. They'll be wanting to put on a bit of a show against Liverpool and show what they're about. So I'm sure they'll cause some problems on the night. And I think tomorrow will be another reminder that we sold Joel Conte, we've not replaced him.
Yeah, I wonder if there'll be a little bit more crossover between Konate and Virgil van Dijk this time. It felt like almost a competitive move from Arne Slot to me, that like, you know, the idea that we don't have this sort of backup centre half at the moment because Joe Gomez is back home nursing his minor Achilles injury, and like you said, Kwanzaa is left, and they've still not brought in that other centre half yet. That, you know, it's you almost split Virgil and Konate so that you make sure you've got one good defender on the one good centre half on the pitch at all times, and then you can sort of be a bit more mixed match from there. I wonder if you sort of look at it now, and because you only have those two options really that will be available for, you imagine, the first game of the season and these next few games, whether you do just look to play Virgil for 60 maybe, and you bring Konate on after 30, and maybe you put Gravenberch at centre half to start, but then he moves into midfield, and there's some way they can sort of do change with that. I noticed tonight it was roll on roll off subs as well, which I don't think I've ever seen in a pre-season friendly.
When Tyler Moore went off after 30, I was like,
yeah.
Hopefully he's okay, but then he came back on, I was like, oh yeah, he's fine.
Which I found wild, because again, I think even in pre-season friendlies I've not necessarily seen that before, so maybe that allows Slot to be a little bit more versatile in his selection too. But I would like to see that start ramping up now, and also the search for a centre half start ramping up really. Like, it's been great being caught up in the Isak hysteria. I'd kind of, and listen, you know, you never know the way it plays out. Liverpool could just go and sign Mark Gay within 24 hours tomorrow, and we've just not really known about it until now. Or maybe there's someone who comes right out of left field that's not even Mark Gay, but I don't know. There's that sort of, because we now are in a transfer world where the news is 24 hours and it's all on social media. I think for my own sanity, I want to see some more links soon, please, Liverpool.
I think it's the most. Sorry, John. I think it's the most surprising thing of this window that Liverpool sold Gerald Konsa so early and didn't have a replacement sort of ready. It felt like at the time that what was going to happen was within a week Liverpool would have a new centre back, and they don't, and they do look short, and that's something that at various times, look, we're all excited about the transfer activity, as Josh has mentioned, but at various times over the past 5-6 years, there's been the number of windows you've finished where you've gone, we look light at centre back, or we feel as if we need another defender, and there's been seasons where it's all fallen apart because of that, and there's been seasons where we've got through it and it's been fine. I think Joe Gomez going home is just such a blow, both for him and for this. You know, the fact that we are a bit light in that position. So I'm really interested to see what Liverpool do over the coming weeks, because, you know, I was going into the window thinking that we needed one more, including Gerald Kwanzaa. To be honest with you, I'd have kept Kwanzaa and added one more. I know we'll always say that as fans, but we will always want that one more. But I think, you know, I looking at the four, I was thinking, yeah, if we want to go for all the trophies, which the players are saying that they do, then we're going to need players to play 60 games, 65 games a season. So, sign a centre back, Liverpool.
I think they want Gay, and I think they've got a price that they think that they can get him for, and they're just holding the nerve a little bit. I think Crystal Palace are trying to hold firm at a certain price. I don't think Liverpool feel that they can hold for the whole window and hold forever, really, and I think they expect Palace will come down eventually just because of his contract situation. I think they want to get something for him. They know he can go on a free next summer, but I think they're setting out at a certain fee, say 45 million, for example, and Liverpool are saying we think they'll come down to 35, but it's just a case of when. And so I think we're all just having to be a little bit nervous while this plays out. So I think they will get him eventually. I just hope it's sooner rather than later, because you want to. I mean, ideally he's travelling with the squad to the Charity Shield rather than having to wait till the end of the transfer window when we've already played a few games. But Liverpool have shown in the past that they will hold their nerve, and I expect that is what happens. Richard Hughes is a cool customer.
He's a very cool customer, very handsome customer.
Yeah, he is.
Speaking of which, we're going to go and be handsome customers at one of these fantastic restaurants around us. It's been quite distracting. Here there's a place literally called the Beer House, Shibuya there, which looks very beer, and there's a fish restaurant called Toro Kitchen.
The food is outrageous here.
Yeah.
Like, the food is outrageous. We went out for dinner last night, and it's the one where you're cooking it yourself, the barbecue, the meat. Like, they just do everything very, very well here in a way that makes me realise that it's all a bit shit back home. Like, I might not come home. I might live in Tokyo and fly my son and my wife out here, and we'll start life together here. I'll work from home if that's all right.
just cook meat and love life. It's going to be hard doing Zoom
Sit in
meetings.
here toilet seats.
Yeah.
The hits.
That's it. Listen, hope you're enjoying the Japan content. Do let us know in the comments or on social media or whatever if there's anything that you'd like to see more of. Like I say, we have got a couple of events later. We'll say events here, we're a couple of things that we're going to, one of which we're on stage, so I'm looking forward to that, and then popping by the supporters club as well. So if you are around and in town, we'd love to see you at one of those. But yeah, in the meantime, hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks a lot to Josh, to Craig, to Ash for stumbling across. I was going to say finding, that would have been generous. Stumbling across this wonderful filming location. And for no one for moving us on, up to Reds.